you ever been alone at night and felt an inexplicable chill run down your spine? It's a sensation we've all experienced, a primal response to the dark and the unknown. As the veil of daylight lifts, our fears often find a playground in the shadows. This is when the ordinary turns eerie, the benign becomes ominous. Tonight we will traverse the dimly lit corridors of the human psyche, exploring the true stories of those who've confronted these fears head-on. Tonight we delve into 3 true stories that will make your heart race and your blood run cold. Our opening narrative takes us to a tranquil suburban nook, where the serene hush of the night was abruptly shattered by an unanticipated intruder. Located in the heart of a picturesque suburbia, amidst immaculately manicured lawns and pristine white picket fences, a woman found herself in solitary company one ominous evening. The rhythmic tick-tock of the venerable grandfather clock, a constant in her otherwise quiet home, echoed somberly through the deserted hallways, serving as a haunting reminder of her solitude. But as the night evolved, this solitary silence was abruptly disturbed by an uncanny orchestra of sounds that seemingly from within the confines of her own home. Initially, it began with an almost inaudible rustling, akin to the gentle sway of a curtain dancing in the whimsical breeze. But the windows were shut, the curtains were static. Then followed a faint creaking, reminiscent of an old wooden floor groaning under the burden of unseen spectral feet. The woman, her heart pounding an erratic tattoo in her chest, tried to rationalize the sounds as merely the house settling. But as the noises became more pronounced and more frequent, a disquieting reality began to creep upon her. She wasn't alone. Her home, her once safe haven, morphed into a labyrinth of menacing shadows. Each creak, each groan seemed to amplify in volume, echoing through the silent hallways, forming a ghostly chorus. Then she had a chill-inducing encounter. A dark, amorphous figure, an unwelcome intruder, loomed ominously in her hallway. Fear seized her. It ran icy tendrils down her spine, but it did not immobilize her. With trembling fingers, she reached for her phone, the police, and found a hiding spot. As she crouched in the oppressive darkness, the minutes seemed to stretch into an interminable eternity. Each agonizing second was accentuated by the intrusive sounds of the intruder, a petrifying soundtrack to her harrowing ordeal. But then, the distant wailing sirens pierced the night, growing louder until they drowned out everything else. The erratic flash of the police lights sliced through the darkness, followed by hurried footsteps and the comforting murmur of authoritative voices. The intruder was captured, the nightmare ended. But as she witnessed the police leading him away, she couldn't suppress a shudder at the thought of the potential horror that could have unfolded had she not dialed the police in time. Her home, her sanctuary, had been transformed into the backdrop of a bone-chilling tale of an unwelcome midnight visitor. As the intruder was handcuffed and led away by the police, she shuddered involuntarily, a cold dread washing over her at the horrifying realization of what could have transpired had she delayed her call to the police. In our next tale, we delve into a universe where the boundaries between the living and the deceased is ominously indistinguishable. Our protagonist, a man deeply grounded in reason and logic, found himself inexplicably immersed in a sphere of the unknown. The beginnings of his journey into an enigma originated from late-night phone calls. Each call, originating from an unidentified number, was a puzzle that would unravel itself in an unnerving and hair-raising manner. The calls were peculiar, if not outright eerie. Each ringtone would slice through the stillness of the night, an intrusive disruption to his peaceful slumber. Upon answering, the calls would reveal nothing but a symphony of static, a white noise that seemed to echo in the hollowness of his room. But within that static, he could distinguish strange whispering voices, akin to the hushed tones of a distant conversation. A dialogue that was as unsettling as it was intriguing. His heart would race, palms would sweat, and he would strain to make sense of the whispers, word more elusive than the last. Days morphed into weeks, and with each passing night the frequency of the calls escalated. The man, fueled by an amalgamation of curiosity and a creeping sense of foreboding, decided to delve deeper. He traced the number, a task that led him down a path that was far from the number he uncovered, was registered under his deceased grandmother. A line that had been severed for years now seemed to be a channel for these disconcerting midnight calls. The revelation sent a quiver of fear through him, a chill that no amount of rationality could disperse. His heart pounded as he stared at the screen, the sight of his grandmother's name bringing forth a wave of disbelief and trepidation. This was not a mystery that could be mitigated by technical errors or prank calls. This was a spectre from a world beyond our understanding, a phantom call from the ethereal plane. To this day, the man attests to his chilling encounter. He lives immersed in the haunting memory of those midnight calls, a stark reminder of the imperceptible curtain separating us from the other side. A place where the departed converse in whispers, and the living strain to unravel their message. An eerie testament to the notion that sometimes the most terrifying horrors are those that remain unseen, those that we can only perceive in the quiet of the night. Our ultimate narrative tonight spirals us into the depths of an antiquated, long-forgotten mansion, a place where the echoes of the past refuse to be silenced. Picture an ancient estate, its glorious splendor faded and worn by the relentless passage of time, standing austere and isolated amidst a verdant, untamed wilderness. Its only company, a solitary security guard, burdened with the duty of surveying its spectral corridors. This guard, a man of reason and logic, had always scoffed at the common whispers of the supernatural. Yet as he traversed the quiet labyrinthine passageways, night after arduous night, a peculiar feeling began to creep up on him. It was more than just the inexplicable icy draughts that seemed to spring from the ether, or the haunting creaks that reverberated throughout the mansion. It was an ominous sensation, a chilling feeling of scrutinized by unseen eyes. One fateful night, while on his patrol, he had a spine-chilling encounter. A ghostly apparition materialized, a phantom flickering in the dim, wavering torchlight. It was a woman, garbed in the splendid attire of a time long past, her visage marked with an emotion of deep, abiding sorrow. She appeared to be caught in a temporal loop, to endlessly repeat the same melancholic actions. The guard watched, petrified, as the spectral entity sauntered down a cobweb-draped hallway, halted before an ancient portrait, and then, with a mournful wail that pierced the silence, dematerialized. As the nights turned into weeks, the guard bore witness this spectral performance on repeat. The realization dawned on him that this was not merely a haunting, but a sorrowful reenactment of a tragic past. The woman was ensnared in a relentless cycle, forced to relive her despair over and over. Powerless and overwhelmed, the guard could do nothing but observe, a silent bystander to her unending torment. The guard eventually resigned from his post, but the spectral image of the woman refused to fade. Her daunting apparition haunted his dreams, her sorrow resonating in his very soul. He comprehended that he had been woven into the intricate web of her story, an unwitting witness to her enduring pain. Even after his departure, the guard was never able to discard the hauntingly vivid image of the ghost, forever ensnared in her cycle of eternal despair. These stories, as chilling as they are, remind us of the mysteries that lurk in the dark. They tap into that universal fear of the unknown, the inexplicable that resides in each of us. Just as these tales have been shared, we encourage you to share your own eerie experiences. After all, sharing is a way of understanding, a way to perhaps make sense of the inexplicable. Remember, the next time you find yourself alone at night, you never know what might be lurking in the shadows. Good night, and stay safe.